welcome to KCMB-TV. Today we're honored to have a special guest, Mr. Mark Levine. He is the current Manhattan Borough President and candidate for New York City Comptroller. And he's here to share his vision, priorities, and message with our Korean American and immigrant viewers. Welcome.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Mark, could you introduce yourself for the KCMB-TV viewers that may not know you well, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
안녕하세요. I am Mark Levine. I'm the Manhattan Borough President and a candidate now to be the next New York City Comptroller. This is an extremely important job that has oversight over our budget, influence on our economy, the ability to support small business. I'm running on a platform of fighting for more affordable housing. I am very concerned about public safety and a broken mental health system. And I'm very focused on the Korean American community, which has been important to me personally, has been a big part of this campaign, and I think is going to be extremely important when we go to vote on June 24th.
Can you tell us what the role and job of a comptroller is? Now, when I first heard about a comptroller, I was thinking like, is it like a calculator who's a transformer? Like, what is it? What does a comptroller do?
Very funny. It is the chief financial officer for New York City. Oversight of the pension funds, which are massive, $280 billion. And so how we invest that money is very important. It also manages the debt of the city, approves all contracts, serves as a check on the mayor with the ability to audit, investigate, provide oversight, even subpoena power over every agency of city government. It is the second most important, second most powerful job in New York City government, and really critical to our economic future, to the future of affordable housing, and many aspects of life here, including public safety, education, and more.
What do you find yourself to be most proudest moment as, not just as like this Manhattan Borough President, but I understand you were also a city council member.
I was,
before.
yes, that's right. Well, I'll go back even earlier to the start of my career. I studied physics in college. I then became a science teacher, a math and science teacher in the South Bronx in District 7 in the 1990s. So education is extremely important to me. I went on to found a financial institution, a community credit union in Upper Manhattan, in Washington Heights. It's called Neighborhood Trust Federal Credit Union. It has made $100 million of small loans, helping families do everything from buy their first home computer, pay for education, start a small business, get a mortgage, a 98% repayment rate on that loan portfolio. And that's the base that allowed me to run for office. Became a city council member, elected in 2013. I chaired the Parks Committee. I love parks. I chaired the Health Committee during the pandemic, where I really stood up for science. I passed a law creating a right to an attorney for all tenants facing eviction and housing court. And now as borough president for almost 4 years, borough president of the second best borough, because I know Queens is awesome, but we also like Manhattan. Where's Koreatown? It's in Manhattan. I want the record to show. Proud to represent Koreatown. In that capacity, representing or serving as borough president, I've made affordable housing my top priority and have fought to build thousands of units of housing all over the borough. So a record that I'm very proud of. This is the record I would take with me into the office of comptroller.
Why is it important to be, aware of who the comptroller is going to be?
Yes. Well, as I mentioned, it's a very important office. I think it's important to everyone in New York, but I want to make the case that it's also very important to the Korean American community as well. This job, comptroller, has oversight on contracting, the question of what businesses and what nonprofits does city government contract with. The city gives out $40 billion a year of contracts. It's almost hard to imagine how much money that is. And I want to make sure that Korean American businesses get an adequate share of city contracts, which I don't believe they currently do, proportionate to the size of the community. I want to make sure that Korean American nonprofits, and there's a very wonderful and growing nonprofit sector in the Korean American community, and I want to make sure that they get an adequate share of contracts. And when they do get contracts, that they're paid on time, which right now they're generally not. Generally, there can be a delay of a year or two or multiple years for payment on city contracts. For nonprofits in general, but also for Korean American run nonprofits. So there's an important agenda there. I talked about the pension fund and how big it is, $280 billion. And I want to make sure that the companies and the investment professionals who are managing that money for the city reflect the diversity of New York, and that they include Korean American fund managers and leaders in finance as well. So I want to make sure that the Korean American community really has an open door in my office, that you always have a seat at my table. This is a large and growing sector of New York life. I've come to develop very close relationships in the community. I've seen how you're leading in business, especially small business, how you're leading in education, in academia, in medicine, in science, in the arts, in culture, in the nonprofit sector, and so much more. And I'm also really proud to have earned strong endorsements among Korean American leaders, including from rising stars in government like Councilmember Julie Wan, like Councilmember Linda Lee, like New York State Assembly member Grace Lee, who represents my borough, Lower Manhattan and Chinatown. It's incredible, by the way, how many young, impressive leaders there are among Korean Americans who are already in elective office. And I'm so thrilled that the three I've mentioned have endorsed my campaign. So I have good relationships in this community that I hope will only grow. This community is important to my campaign, and you will always have an open door and a seat at the table to me if I'm lucky enough to win.
Also, like, and what the role of the comptroller then would play in all of it.
Look, there are certain services and functions that city government decides it can't do or doesn't want to do. That can be everything from renovating a school building to running an after-school program to providing food to homebound seniors to offering foster care services to helping victims of domestic violence, and many, many, many more functions. And so the city, since it can't do it itself or doesn't want to, they contract with outside nonprofits or companies that maybe are in the construction business, and so they can renovate a school, or nonprofits that work with young people, and so they can run an after-school program. And as I mentioned before, the amount of money on the line here, it's kind of amazing. It's $40 billion, billion with a B, $1 billion every year that the city government, just New York City government, contracts out. And if you are a for-profit business, you actually can enroll in what is called the MWBE program, Minority Women Business Enterprise. So an Asian American owned business can enroll. Now, they have to be certified. And so there's a little bit of work in getting certified as an MWBE. It's not enough to have a Korean name at the head of the letterhead. You actually must go through a certification process. But once certified, then you have some advantages in the contracting process. Effectively, you get some additional points when applicants are scored. This is important. It's a big deal. And I want to make sure that Korean American businesses are enrolled in the MWBE program. That's something I certainly would want to help with. But every single contract must be reviewed and registered by the comptroller's office. So I'm going to be watching to make sure that the rules around MWBE have been adhered to by city agencies. I'm going to actually publicly grade every city agency on whether they are meeting their targets to contract with a sufficient number of MWBEs, which the city is not right now. We're behind on this. That's not just a problem for the Korean American community, but this is women in general. This is African Americans, Latinos, Asian Americans of all backgrounds. All the groups that are encompassed in this program, we're way behind on this. Really, the target should be that 30% of our contracts are given to MWBEs. Right now, it's only 18%. We've got to do better. And I'm really going to fight to make sure we do as comptroller.
You specifically, if you were to be in the position of comptroller, what are your three main priority issues that you want to tackle?
Well, my top issue is affordable housing, because the cost of rents is going up and up and up. And I know that many in the Korean American community are feeling it, especially young people who are ready. They've got their first job. They want to move out from your family's home, but the cost of getting your own place can be prohibitive, impossible, really. And I've made that a big priority as Manhattan Borough President. We've built a lot of housing in Manhattan, but I have a plan to use the Comptroller's office to finance even more, to take some of the pension money in a very prudent way that gets good returns for retirees, but finances more affordable housing all over New York City. We have a plan to take 1% of the pension fund. Now, the pension fund is so big that that's a lot of money. It's over $2 billion. And use that to finance affordable housing that might not be built. This is really my top priority. Also very focused on public safety. And I guess this will be issues 2 and 3. I'm focused on public safety and also the broken mental health system. They are connected. So much of what we are experiencing in the public safety world is connected to mental health. Of course, we need adequate staffing of our police department. We have a lot of vacancies right now. We have 2,500 vacancies in the NYPD. So there's not enough staffing in local precincts. There's not enough staffing on mass transit. And I want to get that restored. I want to have more officers so that we are fully staffed up. By the way, I can tell you, my son just passed the police test to become an NYPD officer. So I care a lot about the department. I literally have skin in the game. And but I talked about the mental health problem. I think a lot of you who have been on a subway or maybe just on a street corner, you may have had this experience of someone who is suffering from untreated severe mental illness, diseases like schizophrenia, and you can see a person who's in crisis, and it can make people around them feel unsafe. It's not good for that individual, but it can also be a public safety challenge, particularly on a subway where you're in a small car, it's an enclosed space. It's happened to me. I know it's happened to you. It's happened to all of us. So what's happened is that we have really gotten out of the business of long-term inpatient treatment for people with mental health illness. And it's a problem. It's hard to get that kind of treatment. So I want to start investing again. I want to expand inpatient beds in our public hospitals, hospitals like Bellevue and Manhattan. I want to expand our state psychiatric hospitals. We have a very large one on Randall's Island in Manhattan. It is mostly empty. That facility had 4,000 patients at one point. Today, it only has 400. And when we expand that capacity, we can bring people in who need it for that kind of long-term treatment and also create more supportive housing for them so that they don't have to suffer in the street. That will be good for patients because it can help stabilize people. But I think it will be good for New York City as well. I really believe that. And as Comptroller, I'm going to fight for the budget to make sure that we, 1, fully staff up our police department, 2, that we invest in the kind of mental health facilities that I just spoke about. I think this is the humane thing to do, but I also think it'll be good for New York City as a whole.
Who can vote for Comptroller?
Okay. Well, this is a job which serves all 5 boroughs. So whether you live in Queens or Manhattan or Brooklyn or Staten Island or the Bronx, you can vote. If you live in New Jersey, you probably have some viewers in Fort Lee in New Jersey. You can't vote in New York City. But tell your friends who live in any of the 5 boroughs. You must be a United States citizen, and you must be registered to vote. In this case, in the Democratic primary, I'm running in the Democratic primary. There will be a general election in November. If I'm lucky enough to win the Democratic primary, then I'll be on the ballot in November. But really, it's all about this primary. You still have time to register to vote. You can register up through June 14th, which happens to also be the first day of early voting. We call that the golden day because if you didn't get around to registering and you want to wait, this date, Saturday, June 14th, you can both register on that day and vote on the same day. That's the last day to register. But it's also the first day of early voting. And it goes from Saturday, June 14th through 9 days, all the way through Sunday, June 22nd. But really the main event, the true election day, where we have thousands of poll sites all over the city, is on June 24th. Tuesday, June 24th. Polls open very early, 6 a.m. in the morning. They're open all day through 9 p.m. at night. So that's really the main event, but I encourage you to vote early or vote by mail if you requested a vote by mail ballot. There's lots of ways, but again, your question, very good. If you live in New York City and you're a U.S. citizen and you register to vote as a Democrat, you can vote for me in the primary for Comptroller beginning June 14th through Election Day, June 24th.
All right. Any last words for the any closing remarks or anything like that?
I'll just say, 감사합니다. Thank you to the Korean American community for supporting me, for your friendship, for your partnership. I want you to know you will always have an open door with me. You will always have a seat at the table. I would be very honored to partner with you in this important role of Manhattan Borough President. Once again, 감사합니다.
So, thank you, Mr. Levine, for joining us today and speaking directly to our KCMB-TV viewers. We appreciate your time and we look forward to following your journey on this important election cycle. To our viewers, please stay informed and don't forget to vote.
투표합시다.